guys, it's Katie. Welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be part 2 of a little series that I have been doing where I have reviewed and created looks using each of the Morphe / Jaclyn Hill Vault Collection palettes. So in my last video, I created looks and let you know my thoughts on the palettes Bling Boss as well as Armed and Gorgeous. So if you haven't checked that video out already, be sure to do so. The link will be down below in the description box. But in today's video, we're going to be playing with the remaining 2 palettes. So I have here Ring the Alarm as well as the Dark Magic palette. And as you can see, just like in my previous video, I have dipped into these palettes. I've been playing with them for a couple of days now, so I can really let you know my thoughts and opinions on them. Today we're going to be starting off with the palette Dark Magic. So be sure to subscribe to my channel before you leave. Check out my social media links below and just sit back, relax, grab a hot chocolate, and I hope you enjoy this tutorial and review. As always, I'm starting by priming the lids to create a clean canvas for the shadows. So I'm using the NARS Soft Matte Complete Concealer in Chantilly. And I'm just going to lightly set that concealer with some translucent powder. And just like in part 1 of this mini series, the looks that I'm going to create aren't going to be too challenging or detailed. They're probably going to be fairly similar because, you know, we just really want to focus on how the shadows perform. I'm going to start off by taking the shade Potion using the Morphe E27 brush, and I'm just running this through my crease and buffing it up towards my brow bone. And I did notice that the shade Potion is literally the exact same shade as Top Secret in the Armed and Gorgeous palette, so I maybe would have liked to have seen a brighter green just to add some variety. For me personally, as a colour lover, this palette may be a little bit too dull for me, but I do think that if you grab maybe some brighter shades from other palettes, you can still definitely incorporate this palette into your makeup look. And I had no problems just building up this shade and creating a seamless blend. Switching to the Sigma blending brush, we're going in with the shade Inside Job, and if you saw part 1 to this mini series, then you would know that the darker shades I had a little bit of trouble with, so I was a little bit hesitant going in with this shade, but I was pleasantly surprised. There was pigmentation, it built really nicely, and it blended really well. Going back in with the shade Potion to blend those edges. And as you can see, we had a bit of fallout from that darker shade, so I'm just going in with some makeup remover to clean that all up. I'm going in with the same concealer that we used as primer, and I'm going to create a half cut crease just so that we have a nice clean area on the lid to go in and play with a few more shades. So I'm going to be applying a shimmer and matte shade on this concealer, and I want the concealer to act as an adhesive for the shimmer shade to help intensify it. However, I don't want to be applying a matte shade on wet concealer because that's when things can start to become a little bit patchy. So I'm just going to go in and set the end of that concealer with some translucent powder. And I was able to go back in with the shade Inside Job to further intensify the look. So I'm just defining around that half cut crease. With the shade Busted, using the Zoeva Luxe Smoky Shader Brush, I'm applying that to the area where I just set that concealer. And as you can see, as I'm packing on this shade, things did become a little bit patchy, but I did know that I was going to cover most of this shade with a shimmer shade, so the patchiness didn't bother me too much for this look. Going in with the shade Power Cut, which is a gorgeous true silver, I'm taking that on a dampened flat brush and applying that to the empty lid space. And I'm just going to diffuse the edges of this shade, then going in with more of the shade Busted to create a nice seamless blend. I'm just cleaning up any fallout, and then I'm going to go ahead and do my base, and then I'll be right back to finish off the eyes. So for the lower lash line, we're just going to be doing the same process. So starting off with the shade Potion, then intensifying that outer corner with the shade Inside Job. This is the palette after creating the eye look, and as you can see, we literally don't have any kickback, which is really great. I'm highlighting my inner corner with the same highlighter we used on our cheeks. Then I'm jazzing things up a little by taking a glitter liner and defining that half cut crease. I'm coating my lashes with mascara and then applying some falsies before finishing off this look using the Australis Girl Boss in the shade Hustle. And this is the finished look using the Morphe / Jaclyn Hill Dark Magic palette. Overall, the color scheme of this palette isn't for me personally. You know, I just wanted to jump in with a bright blue or a bright green and just liven these colors up a little. But if you're a cool toned lover, then this palette might be perfect for you. I had played with the shade Mojo, which is that darkest brown, and I can't say it was my favorite. I had a few patchy problems, but overall, the shadows that I used today performed pretty smoothly. I can't really see myself dipping into this palette, but I may dip into a few shades if I am doing a more cool toned look. Okay, so I just took off all of that makeup and now we are starting with a fresh face again and getting ready to play with the Ring the Alarm palette. Again, I am priming my lids with the NARS Soft Matte Complete Concealer in Chantilly and just lightly setting that with a translucent powder. We're going to go straight in with the shade Alert using the Morphe E27 brush, and I'm going to be buffing that in my crease and blending it up towards my brow bone. I love the color scheme of this palette. I think a lot of people are going to gravitate towards those warm toned colors. For me personally, it's maybe missing a matte transition shade that's more pink toned rather than all being fairly orange toned, just to tie in those two gorgeous pinky reddy shades that we have within the palette. But of course you can go in with other shades from different palettes to create your own custom look. Picking up the shade Framed on the Sigma blending brush, I'm running that through my crease and gradually blending it up into the previous shade we used. And I was able to build the intensity and create a seamless blend between the two shades. I tried to intensify the outer corner with the shade Secret, which is the darkest brown from the palette, but I quickly realized that this shade wasn't going to build nicely, and from previous experience in my last video with the darker shades, I didn't want to risk creating a patchy mess, so I just decided to blend that shade away. I'm using concealer to create a half cut crease and going in with some makeup remover to clean away any excess shadow that's on the lid, because we don't want that peeking through when we apply the shimmer shade. I'm also getting rid of fallout from the shade Framed. I'm applying concealer on the lid to create a clean space to apply the gorgeous shimmer shades that we're going in with. Just like in the previous look, I'm using translucent powder to set the edge of that concealer so that I can then go back in with the shade Framed to diffuse any harsh lines. I'm going in with the shade Boom on a damp flat brush and I'm applying that to the center of my lid, and this is such a gorgeous copper shade. For my inner corner, I thought I would create a subtle ombre by applying the shade On Camera, which is a nice dark gold shade. And again, I had no problems with these shimmer shades. I thought they were really pretty. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and do my face and then I'll be right back to finish off the eyes. Time for the lower lashes. So again, I'm going to be doing the exact same process. So I'm going back in with the shade Alert and creating a smoky feel to the look, and then intensifying that outer corner with the shade Framed. Here's what the palette looks like after finishing the eye look, and I found that the minimal kickback was consistent in all four palettes. I decided to add a black dramatic wing to the look, and for a little twist I added gold liner above the black wing, and I think this really tied everything together. I'm just coating my lashes with mascara and then highlighting my inner corner with the same highlighter I used on my cheeks. I'm adding some falsies, and then for lips I'm going in with the Huda Beauty Matte Liquid Lip in the shade Trendsetter, and how perfectly does this shade go with the eyes. And that is the finished look using the Morphe / Jaclyn Hill Ring the Alarm palette. I think the palette is really pretty. My overall thoughts are very similar to the rest of the palettes. These shimmers are gorgeous. I had no problems with the lighter matte shades, pigmented, easy to blend. I just found the darker shade a little bit tough to work with. But again, that is just my personal experience with the palette, but maybe something to keep in mind if you are looking to purchase it. I think this would be a great go-to palette for those staple warm tones. Whew. Okay, I just took off all of my makeup to give my skin a bit of a breather, but that is the end of the video and this mini series. I would say that overall the palettes were a little bit of a hit or miss. You know, I had no problems with the shimmer or lighter shades, but when it came to the darker shades and those little pops of color, that's when I started to lose some of that pigmentation. They started to become a little bit patchy. So I would say that if you don't already own these colors in your collection, or if you're a big Jaclyn Hill fan and you want to collect all of her palettes, then I would say go for it. You know, I do think that you will create some really pretty looks using the palettes, but if you're someone like me who does already own all of these colors in your collection in other palettes, then I would say that maybe you can skip this purchase, or maybe purchase one or two of your favorite palettes. And if you don't purchase the collection, I don't think you're missing out on anything too life-changing within the makeup industry, you know? But yeah, that's about it. So hopefully I will see you in my next video. Bye guys.